What's going on, Mother Truckers? Welcome to Mother Trucker News. We got our friend David here, a CPA doing taxes for truck drivers. We've had my man on the show multiple times, and the reason why I have David on the show is one, he's a friend, and two, if you have a trucking business, you don't want anyone that's trying to do your taxes that doesn't understand trucking. So, welcome to the show once again, sir. How you doing today?
Having me.
Good. I've been getting a lot of questions, two questions from truck drivers, and both are concerning. And so I said, I need my CPA on here, right? So, the first question is basically they were on the road, they messed up, and they're like, oh my gosh, April 18th already passed. I don't know what to do. And the second one is actually right now in the trucking industry, we're having such a hard time that there are, thousands of MCs, owner operators that are deciding to go bankrupt. And I'm getting about 3 or 4 asking me, Alex, do I do my taxes before I declare bankruptcy or do I do it after? So those are the two main concerns. And the last one is, of course, if there's any updates for truck drivers to know, either to save money, any tips, and just anything that they need to know that pertains to truck drivers when it comes to paying their taxes. Because let's be honest, most people, taxes is what scares people, right? And so let's get into the first one today, if we can. What happens to the thousands of truck drivers, like the one that emailed me that says, Alex, I goofed up. I don't know what to do. I'm really scared. I didn't get an extension. I don't know what to do. And I forgot to do my taxes. Well, what do we say to that person, David?
Do your taxes. The simple answer is do your taxes, because the fear comes in with the lack of knowing. And so if you get your taxes done and you find out that you had a refund, well, there's no penalty. I can't say generally there's no penalty. And so if you had a refund or you didn't know there'd be no penalty, you only have 3 years to file those returns when you have a refund. But let's assume you owe. That's the worst case scenario. And so if you owe and you did not do an extension, there's a fee for that. There's a penalty and interest for that. Then it grows every month. And so the moment you cross over midnight on April the 18th, you got dinged for 1 whole month. When you cross over 30 days later, and depending on how the weekends fall, I don't want to get the exact date. The main thing is to get it done. You get dinged another whole month, and whether you get it done 1 minute after midnight that day or 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. And so I think those fees, we tell people if you do an extension, that your penalty and interest is about $8 per $1,000 that you owe. $10,000, you have an $80 problem per month. It's about 10 times that high when you don't file an extension. And so if you don't file an extension, it's probably not $8 per $1,000. It's probably $80 per $1,000. So I'm nervous about something or worried, when I goof something up, usually getting a little bit of knowledge helps me. So if you owe $1,000, you did not file an extension, you get it filed this month, you're going to lose about $80. And most guys are not going to lose their business, lose their sleep over that. They don't want to keep doing it. If you have $10,000, looking at $800 a month. And so the answer is, as I said, get them done, find out, get them filed, and stop that bleeding quickly. And so if you have $5,000, you're looking at a $400 problem, and most people can weather a $400 problem in life. Wait 6 months, it's a $2,400 problem, and it can actually accumulate up to 25% of what you owe. So if you owe $10,000, I think they do max it out at 25%, which means if you go 5, 6, 7 months into it, you owe $2,500. You owe probably a maximum of $2,500. And that's the other thing, is there is a cap on that. And I don't want to speak too much about the IRS and what they do and don't do, because they'll surprise me once in a while. You'll get them, they even make mistakes,
Mhm.
Generally, what I just said is true. It's not the end of the world. They can't eat you. They can't take your away from you. But you can stop the bleeding by getting them filed. Even if you, and I don't recommend filing a return when you don't have all of your information yet. But it'd be better to file it soon, and later on you find another expense, you can amend it later to add something, than it would be to wait an extra 3 months, try to dig for something back at the house, and let these penalties keep pouring on. The other thing is sometimes they'll just forgive it for you. It could be a first time abatement.
Mhm.
If you've never messed up, never been late, paid late, filed late, etc., there's a good chance that when you get your penalty, you can write a letter to them and they might forgive it. I said that's a chance, and I said they might. Um, Other things can come into play right there, but generally, if you've never had a problem before, you may get that taken care of that way.
No, I appreciate that. So, for the people that were able to do extensions, per every 1,000, it was what, only $8 or something like that, you said?
$8 per month.
But if you didn't do the extension, it's 10 times that. So it's $80 per
Yes,
1,000,
approximately.
approximately. Right.
Right.
And so, here's the thing, all the mother truckers out there, to the drivers that are scared, that said, man, I goofed up, I don't know what to do. We're only about a week or so from that, and you didn't do an extension. I mean, you might be in it, instead of $80, you might be in it 400. But at 400, that's still a mistake that you could salvage, right?
I think so. And you can always ask them to forgive it.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. So, I gotta hook my guy up here. If you guys are one of the drivers that are scared, David's just a friend of mine, but truckerstaxreturns.com. David, I mean, for these guys that are scared, maybe you can even help them write this letter. I don't know, have them David's a good guy, CPA, doing it for the truck drivers. So with that, if you have missed the extension and you're worried, definitely hit him up on that. So no, I appreciate that. Now let's get to the second question.
Sure.
I don't know if you can answer this one, but you're my guy to call when it comes to it. I'm getting so many drivers. I can't say it, but there's so many drivers because of fuel, because of insurance, just because of economy, lack of contracts, a cancellation of contracts, that they're losing their business. And so this time, I don't know if you know, David, but it's very difficult right now for truck drivers and owner operators right there. And so a lot of things happen. I even have drivers where they get a claim for something, and it's so much money that they're thinking about just, it's easier if they just declare bankruptcy. So in a situation where a truck driver has to declare bankruptcy, which thousands of MCs are doing that right now as we speak because of fuel and all the other situations that I'm talking about. And sometimes, I hate to say it, and you might hate me for this, but lack of saving, because, when the economy was great for trucking the last 2 years, there are drivers that didn't save their money. And because of that, it's hard to weather the storm. So to get into this, what, if any, if you can recommend, does a driver do? Because I've had drivers email me and say, Alex, I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about declaring bankruptcy for my trucking business, but I don't know if I should do my taxes first or after, or if there's a benefit to that or not.
And so I had one lately that had several trucks. That what they did was go talk to a bankruptcy attorney. She found out that she's not a very good candidate for bankruptcy. Some people might find out, even though they think that's the only thing they can do, when they go to speak to an attorney, they may find out that they either can't or don't qualify, or it may not be the best way. So the first thing to do is to get an attorney. And I know that hurts to say because they're expensive. If you're going to file bankruptcy, you're going to get an attorney. And so what they need to do is speak to that attorney, follow their direction very closely, do exactly what they say. So when you go to your attorney and you say, well, I'm doing really poorly here, I want to declare bankruptcy, they're going to want to get an idea of your finances and your numbers. If your tax return is done, you can hand that to them. So if someone were to come to me and say, I don't know if I should file or not file, I'd say, well, let's get it done, give it to you, you take it to your bankruptcy attorney, show it to them, and from that moment forward, only do what they tell you to do. If they say file it, you file it. If they say don't file it yet, don't file it yet. But the thing about taxes are, eventually you have to file a return. So having it prepared and getting that done and out of the way before you see the attorney, I think is the thing to do. Now, if you go to an attorney and they say we don't care or whatever, I mean that's between you and the attorney. I think normally they want to get a grasp of the finances before they talk bankruptcy. And so that's what I would do. I would get it ready, take it to the guy, follow his instructions pretty to the letter from that point forward.
No, I appreciate that. No, so there you have it. David recommends get an attorney for this before doing anything else and before talking to him even. Okay, let's talk about some of these basics here. For someone that's ready to make the move, they're ready to start their own business. They're ready to become an owner operator. Let's say a guy that's just going to drive a single truck, right, and be an owner operator, not a guy that's thinking of expanding his business to 10, 15 trucks and have 10, 20 employees, just a single owner operator type of MC business. Could you give your personal opinion, of what you would recommend, how they should set up? We've talked about a little bit of this in the past, but we have new listeners here and viewers here, and I think they can learn from your expertise of what you personally would do, on this, as far as, if they should LLC, if they shouldn't, what are your thoughts about that for a single owner operator type of business?
And I've seen some of the comments on some of our videos in the past and heard people talk about how they don't really believe an LLC helps them. And so all I know for sure is if you don't have an LLC, you have absolutely no protection. And so is it a silver bullet every time? Maybe not. Are there times when having an LLC maybe doesn't do what you thought it would do for you? That could be, but I don't think that's any reason not to have an LLC. So the question is, how do I legally protect myself? Do I do an LLC, or do I do a corporation, or do I do something else? And so I believe that most one truck owner operators, they're going to go to an attorney and they're going to say, how do I legally protect myself? What kind of shell do I get? And if not 100 times out of 100, at least 98 or 99, the attorney is going to say, let's do an LLC. That's my experience speaking to attorneys, hearing from truckers and what they've been told. And so I think the answer is you definitely want an LLC. The attorney needs to tell you LLC versus corporation or whatever. I don't think anybody's going to tell you that an LLC does you no good and you shouldn't do one. No. I think the question is, do I do an LLC or a corporation? Corporations have more record-keeping requirements once a year from meetings of, so you got shareholders, then the shareholders elect the board of directors elects the officers run the company. An LLC, I believe, streamlines a lot of that. Again, that's legal advice you have to get from an attorney, but I think they'll always say, for someone with no legal accounting experience, get an LLC. They're streamlined, easier to run, and I think they still protect you. So I would definitely do that. Get an EIN in the name of the LLC, put the truck in the name of the LLC, get the loan in the name of the LLC, put all the assets legally titled in the name of the LLC. So a lot of guys have an LLC, but they own their truck personally. And so, I heard an attorney one time at a NASDAQ conference say, if you're here today and if you got any asset, any rolling stock, even if you got 100 trucks, 99 are in an LLC or a corporation, but one isn't, get up right now, leave, go home, skip the rest of the conference, get with your attorney and get that one truck, or go to the BMV or whatever you call it in your state, and get that one truck into a legal entity. Do not leave anything outside. And I think that would be the general advice for that.
No, I appreciate that, and, I think the last one, and again, what I'll do is there's a lot of people that don't understand taxes, and my guy David's not an expensive guy. A lot of people are going to HR Block and these other names, and you're thinking that having a guy that's experienced, tell people in a snippet for people that are learning about you for the first time, David, how many years do you have actually doing taxes for just owner operators and truck drivers alone?
Well, I did my very first owner operator in 2001. And then that was a learning experience. About a year later, he recommended me to the company that he hauled for, who had about 40, 45 trucks. And I was there for 16 years between part-time and full-time as a contractor status. And their business grew, and my CPA firm was growing, and so we parted ways. And so since 2001 to now, it's 22 years. Been doing it pretty heavy for the last 10, more heavy. And we probably do, I hate to give numbers up, we probably do, we're not ATBS, we don't do that many, but we probably have a couple hundred we're working with and helping. And so I think that's a fair answer to the question. We do a couple hundred, and we've been working with truckers since about 20 years ago.
No, I hear you. So, so we'll segue into this then. What owner operators definitely want to know is how can they save money? Because sometimes it's not about making money, right, David? It's about how to save money. So, any tricks of the trade that you could legally tell us, to save money as an owner operator, or are there certain things, truck drivers aren't writing off, I got a buddy that just spent $100,000 on Chrome, and he does that because he loves it. He's probably not even writing that off. He loves it. He goes to truck shows, and that's what he enjoys. Right. And so, there's a lot of that type of situations out there, but, just to make an example, for the owner operator out there, is there something that they're not thinking about now that might be oh my gosh, I could have been saving all this money and I never thought to add that to my taxes, or, to write this off, or what have you, any fun tips like that, for the viewers out there, David?
But I think what we see is an accumulation of smaller things as opposed to any one large thing. And so if they, for whatever reason, sometimes they go to a tax preparer and they won't write off their per diem. Mm-hmm. So if you're out for 300 nights at $69 a night, 300 times 70 is 21,000. So a little bit less than 21,000. Some people miss that. If you're an S corporation, what we're seeing is sometimes they're in an S corporation, they transition into an S corp. A year or two ago, they come to me and they haven't paid themselves per diem. And my understanding is with the S corp, if you don't pay yourself, like write a check and pay yourself, even if you just an e-check, it doesn't have to be a paper check. If you don't pay yourself per diem, you can't deduct it. And so maybe you can try to pay it the following year and catch up and double up that year. But an S corp not paying the owner that drives per diem is an issue. We see some creative accounting sometimes and how people are writing trucks off, and from other tax preparers, and doing it correctly generally helps. So as far as like one big silver bullet, I don't see one. I see people who say, well, I probably have more expenses, but I don't have time to look for them. So not keeping track of all your receipts hurts. Not understanding it, and some of these are hard, but not understanding the settlement statements and not being able to communicate to me sometimes what some of the things on it might be can hurt people. And so I see in it not so much, one large area, but between not keeping good records, knowing exactly what your expenses are, not understanding everything on the settlement statement, is it deductible or not, and if it's got some abbreviation that I don't know what it is, you don't know what it is. So all those things can build up. And then again, there's a lot of good tax preparers out there besides me, for sure, but we do see some that come in pretty creatively, and generally the creative ones usually hurt the owner operators instead of help them. I think some people think they're helping themselves by screwing around like that. And I would recommend getting good tax help. It doesn't have to be me. I can't do every owner operator in the country. There's lots of CPAs that help. Right. Getting good tax advice helps.
What was it now? Can you actually practice across the nation? If anyone actually calls you, can you actually give legal advice on, taxes and things like that?
We do tax returns in New York and California and Florida and Texas. And I'm sure there's some states we've never worked in, but we're located in Ohio. I'm licensed in Ohio. I have a website, and when people find me and they call me, I can work with them. If I go to Kentucky and open an office up in Kentucky, an hour away, I'd have to get a license in Kentucky. If I go another direction, an hour away, and go to West Virginia and open an office up, I'd have to have a license. But I'm licensed in Ohio. I'm not going to get licensed in all 50 states. But when people contact me, I certainly can help them and work for them.
I see. So that's kind of like that.
Some states have a special rule. You have
Yeah.
to put it out, like New York and California. They're the two the trickiest, but we comply, and
Oh, I hear you. So basically, yeah, your certification is, you're certified in Ohio, but if people call you from around the state, you can help them. So, so that was kind of the big question. Here's a fun one for you before we let you go. I actually do have one more question, but how much is the most money you've ever saved a trucking business?
Okay, so about 2 months ago, we sat here on a Saturday, and I've got two guys working for me that are one just graduated college and one's a junior. And so it was Saturday. So when you're in college, it's Saturday, what do? You go do tax returns, right? And so I went to La Rosa's, bought pizza, and here at the conference table, we worked late. And we had a guy, and I forget what state he's from. It doesn't matter. But he had been to another large tax preparer company that does a lot of truckers, and they do okay. They do good sometimes and okay other times. And he had a $4,000 refund from them in 2021. And so he said, I think they missed this or that or the other. You can do better. So I looked at it and I said, I can by adjusting your depreciation. Your earned income credit may change. And so he paid me. We got the work, got it in here, and worked on it on Saturday. And we used his depreciation, and we went up and down and down and up and back up and around and watched what was happening to the return, finding out the moving pieces. And he got a $4,000 refund from the IRS when he filed his return, let's say a year ago or whenever it was. When we were done, we found he could have got a $14,000 refund.
Oh man, I wouldn't mind an extra 10K, huh?
Well, I know the question is, did I take more depreciation, get him a bunch of money now so he's happy and he pays me, and then not tell him a year later on the 2022 return, which is right now too, that he's going to get hammered because he's out of depreciation? And the answer is, I don't do that. If you say, man, I need all the help I can get right now, and I want to kick this can down the road, I'll tell you how, and we'll do that, and we'll kick the can down the road. This guy legitimately got about $7,000 or $8,000 or $9,000 in extra earned income credit because as his income went down with depreciation, because we could use Section 179 depreciation, expense more of it, then we found that sweet spot. He went from a 4 to a 14. And we used a little bit of extra depreciation that he won't have the following year. Informed him of it. He's okay with it. But he got earned income credits, money. It's free money from the government. So if he got an extra 10,000, I think 8 of it was EIC. A couple of it was actual tax going down. And he understands where he'll be a year later, and he understands what he's getting into and has a chance to plan for that. But if we got him an extra 10 grand, I'd say 8 of it was free money. But we're able
to. That's awesome. That's awesome. My last question for you is, with it being 2023, are there any rules or regulations that have changed for truck drivers specifically when it comes to taxes?
Well, in 21 and 22, the per diem was higher, and maybe in 20 also, I can't remember, but they raised it from you can deduct 80% of your per diem to that you can deduct 100% of your per diem. I know that in 2023, that number goes back down to 80%. So there's a little bit of a decrease there for you. Depreciation and other items. I mean, you can basically write off the things that are ordinary in your industry and necessary for your business. There's not a lot of change there. Per diem will go back down.
And that's pretty much the biggest difference as of right now.
That's the biggest difference. There's always small change here and there, but as of right now, of course, we're still focusing on 2022. But I do know that'll be one change that will affect truckers in 2023. Doesn't affect company drivers because they already can't deduct that anymore. It affects owner operators.
No, I hear you. No, I hear you. No, I appreciate you. At the end of this, your time is definitely money, and I always appreciate that you give some time for all the listeners and viewers out there, and all the mother truckers. Hey, if you just need some quick consultation, David's a friend of mine. Just say, hey, Alex from Mother Trucker News said, hey, you might be able to help me. Can you give some free consultation to these guys, and maybe you could help them out? And who knows in the future? Hey, if they become a customer of yours, that's great. But it's one of those things where some of these people are scared and they don't know what to do, and they're going to places like HR Block, where they don't even know what a per diem is, or they don't even know what a logbook is.
Sure, we'll do free consultations, and you've got my website on the screen there, I think, and our phone number on there. If you just call us, email us. You can email at truckers@daviddillycpa.com. Give us a call. We definitely just try to help people. I learned a long time ago that if you just try to help people, that it all works out for everybody.
Oh yeah, no. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna find this. Give me a second. Let me do some of what I do
Mm-hmm.
and show you some love here. And then let's anything that has to do with helping truckers, I'm all about it. So here is David's website right here, and as you can see, explain to us a couple of these categories that might be helpful to the driver.
Sure. And I can't see it very good on the screen. I'm going from memory, but we do have somewhere on there, I believe on one of the right ones, a submission form that you can click.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. And you can actually type in your name, address, etc. You could put information on that and send it to me ahead of time, so that when we do have a consultation with you, that we know a little bit about you first. And we also use those for people. I believe it goes down further. Maybe you can put your revenue on and put all of your on it, and you can learn from looking through this what categories that we like to lump things into. And so even if you go to another tax preparer, you might print that off, which I think you can do, and you might use that to help you wherever you go, because there are questions on there about reefers and APUs and off-road fuel tax credit, etc., that help those guys too.
Nice. I see an owner operator. I clicked the link. It says business program. Let's use IRS rules to reduce the money you pay. So is this kind of like a program you have kind of in place for owner operators already?
And so a lot of that is geared toward seeing if you can qualify for an S corporation. If you qualify, or if I think you qualify, does it help you? Can you save money on Social Security and Medicare tax? Is it worth having the separate entity on the second tax return? But yeah, we definitely want to get people in and talk to them. We do bookkeeping, and so again, everything is not for everybody, but the bookkeeping and payroll services that we offer, you may do them on your own, but they're important to do if you want to do some of these things.
Gotcha. I see it right here. Truckers at daviddillycpa.com. And there's that beautiful staff. Look at you in that suit. Look at that. No, that's great. No, I appreciate you. It's one of those things here where people need to understand that, for one, this video is 100% educational and informational, and as much as you hate to hear the word taxes and the word IRS, one thing's for sure. Right now, if you did not get an extension, you are an owner operator. Every month, you are getting dinged 10 times the amount. So instead of $8 per $1,000 is $80 approximately, correct?
Per thousand per month.
So I mean, can you imagine that if you owe 10 grand, you're looking at $800 and times next month, time next month, time next month. And so you don't want that to happen to you. We're not here to scare you. This is just the truth. A lot of people enjoy and love telling me about how much money they make. But then when you deep dive, sometimes people get upset because they're not paying their taxes. They're not holding back. They're not paying quarterly. They don't have an LLC. I mean, uh, it's one of those things where a good friend of mine told me once, right, David, is, don't get too excited about starting a business. Once you start a business or get into a partnership with someone to start your own company, you got to start thinking about the liabilities, because that's really what it comes down to. And I'm learning to be a better businessman myself. And because of that, I used to be excited as well, about, oh my God, I just started a company. Now, when someone asks me about a company, David, I go, what are the liabilities for this? And can this destroy everything that I've worked hard for? So, Mother Truckers, definitely check out my friend. He's a good man. He's a smart man. He's a CPA that helps truck drivers specifically. Go to truckerstaxreturns.com. These videos that we do together are just to help you. So it's just one of those things where I hope you gain some information on this. At the end of this, is there anything that you would like owner operators out there to know, and for them to just be successful, or just any last words, sir?
I do, and I thought about that this morning when you were mentioning the bankruptcy issues. So years ago, I realized that your problems don't start in a downturn. They don't start when the recession starts. Your problems start in the good times, as you said, Alex, when we're not putting things back, putting things away, saving money up. So when trucking's not in a recession, that's when you prepare for the next recession or the next downturn, or whatever word you want to use. So when you're not doing that, you're creating sometimes a perfect storm that happens. And one thing I see people do, I can't say it's right or it's wrong, but I've got guys buying $50,000 trucks and making money on them. And I got guys getting into lease programs for $175,000 trucks and making the same money, grossing the same revenue. And so I can't tell somebody what to do, and I don't want somebody to buy a truck that's junk and you have to spend every Sunday working on it. And there's always something, you never have time with the family. But there's got to be an in-between answer. And when in the lease programs particularly, I'm a fan of those because they help you get into trucking when the bank won't loan you money, but there's a company that you work for that'll help you. But every lease program is not a good lease program. And every interest rate, they don't understand the interest rate in them. They just hear a weekly payment or a monthly payment. And, they get into these things in the good times. When the bad times come, they got too much debt, too much payments, no money saved back for tax, no money saved back for the house payment. These are non-tax related issues, but as a tax preparer, I see these all the time. I can't say if you can buy a $175,000 Peterbilt and do fine. That's what I'd like to do. I think there's nothing better looking than a Peterbilt. But dealership one time, and before prices were out of sight, and he said, David, what we like to sell, and we see people buying our Freightliners with 500,000 miles on for about $50,000, 45 to 50. This was 3 or 4 years ago. He said, you got 500,000 into them. They're going to go for a while. They're plain Jane, ugly white trucks with no looks at them. But he was promoting those because he felt that was a sweet spot for owner operators at the time. I know things have changed, and sure enough, I said the word Freightliner, somebody will say, well, I like Volvo, or I like Kenworth. There's a Kenworth plant right here in our hometown, and I like Peterbilts myself to look at them. But you got to find what makes you money and then save some of that money. And again, not every lease program is a good one, because those guys, you bring that truck back and you throw those, they will walk out, they give it to the next person, and they make money on the next person. And when he breaks, they bring the truck back and they sell it to the third guy. And so those trucks go for a while, and they go from person to person to person. And the guy selling to you doesn't care if you succeed or not. They almost hope you fail, because you'll get mad and throw the keys down and walk out with all the equity in it that you put. They sell it to the next guy and keep right on trucking, so to speak. And so those are some things I see people getting into that may not hurt you the first 6 months you do it, or the first year, but they do build up. Does that make sense to you, Alex? You see some of that too?
Oh yeah, 100%. A lot of predatory loans, predatory leases, just all around. There's a lot of people that have their hands in the pot of a hardworking man or woman just trying to make a living driving a truck. So, no, at the end, I appreciate that. Hey, check out my guy, truckerstaxreturn.com.
Thanks.
We're not here on Mother Trucker News promoting every company, under the sun. But when it comes to something as important as taxes, and I know that David gives free consultations and his prices are not that far off from big companies that you hear of alone already. So why not have someone do your taxes that actually understand trucking, can save you money and keep you out of jail per se, right? And so I appreciate you for that, man. So thanks.